Okay, in this second video about BWV 12.7, we're just going to do a chord analysis through, and then there's a few interesting things to do with voice leading that we want to point out as well. And just maybe a couple comments about the construction overall of how he uses the material again and again in different ways. Yeah, let's just start off. He's got this big opening phrase here that says, I'm going to be a grand, happy cadence. So this is a B flat chord, it's 1. This is a B flat chord again. Here's my 5 chord, but so F-A-C-E, but the first inversion right there, right? So we go to 6, back to a root position. Here's my E flat chord. So E flat, right? G, and then B flat, B flat. I think this is just a passing tone right there. So we're going to call this a, what is that, a 4 chord in this key? We're in B flat, and that's the third of the chord right there, right? And then it jumps to a 1 chord, again, third of the chord in the bass, and then 5 and 1. 7th comes through like a passing tone. It's very clean and clear and sort of missing most of the non-chord tones that you might expect. I almost feel like Bach is doing his declamatory thing, like saying, look what we're about. So, you know, if you get this at the beginning, you got this, and it goes up to here on my next chord. It's this nice opening sort of statement, like fanfare. And then this is a very typical idiom to do that voice exchange right there, and even coming up to the cadence, we get this. It's this beautiful, I don't know what to say, declarative, right? And it's like, wow, we're in for a treat here, right? And then he even goes up higher at that point. And don't forget that this B flat helps stabilize that voicing in there, right? But then it's like, and it's like up here, right? So it's like, no, hold on a second, where am I? I'm right there, sorry. Yeah, right there. So it's got the B flat in the middle there. And you still get a nice sort of high, you know, separation like that because of the spacing that's still going on right there. And then we crank up for another cadence right here. Right? And then a typical 2-6-5. And then this beautiful suspension, delaying the third of the chord, and then no third, an incomplete, perfect, authentic cadence, right? Okay, it's nice, okay? Just gonna make a comment on this. I've heard that, and I guess it's true, that if we're in a major key, Bach does not like to set up his cadences with a 4-5-1. He'll use a 4 chord, but for his cadences, he likes to use 2s more, 2 inversion. It's like the 4 chord was too sweet, and so he adds that extra note in there, the re or second degree in the scale, right? Anyhow, let's just do this for a minute. Oh, I guess it's plain blue. So, yeah, so 4 going to 5, right? And then this is 4-6, and I just want to talk about this for a minute. If you take these notes here, which are clearly passing tones, and put that in there, that ends up being an A half diminished 7, A, C, E flat, and G, which coincidentally is my 7 diminished 7 chord right there, which is nice because we're slipping into a 1 right there, and 4 going to 7 is down a circle of fifths, and this is my sub for a 5, which goes there, which is kind of cool, right? Although he does something similar down here, but then he doesn't include the extra note, so it doesn't work out. It's implied though. This is my 2-6-5. Yeah, we already talked about kind of how this made parallel fifths right there. And I still think this is a perfect authentic cadence, even though you have this oboe line above here. It doesn't read and feel like it's part of this, right? Helps occasionally, creates a problem occasionally, but clearly Bach doesn't feel like they're integrated. It's not like a 5-part chorale. It's 4 parts plus a melodic line. Okay. All right, let's go on right here. Now we are going to change the key of F. We've seen this here, so that's going to happen somewhere. We've got the E natural and the E natural. I want to talk about this great thing here. Most chorale phrases are not this long; they're much shorter. But Bach is doing a really clever thing that other composers, he's learned it from other composers, and other composers will continue to learn it from him. If you want to change the key, one good thing to do is destabilize the key to begin with, right? So how does he do that? Well, he's going to make a bunch of secondary dominants. If you're a first-year student, then this is new for you. If you're a second-year student, you understand the concept of secondary dominants, which is that at any time you could pick a chord in the key, besides one, and as long as it's not a diminished chord, like 7 diminished or 2 in minor, you can give it its own 5 chord temporarily. It's like a little bubble plane of reality. So, for instance, this is a B flat dominant 7 rather than a B flat major. And you might say, like, where is that? I see a B flat and a D and a B flat and F, but there's my A flat right there, which makes it dominant. See, it's breaking the key. Now, that's a 1 chord, but in this form, it's 5. Dominant chords are 5s. And so it's 5/7 of E flat, and E flat is 4 in this key that we're in. So you say this is 5/7 of 4, not 1. Okay, and it feels like and is pushing off into a different place. So let's see if I can grab this plus these notes up here. If you hear this right here at the beginning, like this, like this, seems fine. Seems like a 1 chord again. But when you throw this on top, that right there says we're going to a new key, right? Which is this, right? It's like you're temporarily in the key of 4 for just a second, and then we go to a 4. And then C would be 2, right? So it'd be like 1, 4, 2, 5 of 4, going to 4. But this 2 has been altered to have an E natural. That makes it a C dominant chord, C, E, G, and then C, and there's my B flat right there, right? And so that becomes 5 of F instead of a 2 chord, right? So it's 5. It'd be a 7, but the 3rd's in the bass, so it's going to be 6/5 of 2, right? Not of 2, sorry. It is a 2 chord of 5 because F is my 5 chord. And see, it goes there like that, right? So it goes to 5. And then this picks up the E flat again, and it becomes a 3rd inversion dominant chord. So it's 5/2 in the original key, which brings us back to a 1/6, like that. But look, on the next beat, we get our A flat again, turning this into a dominant chord. So it turns into, this should be a 5, right? 6/5 of E flat, which is 4 again, right? And there's my 4 right there. And then he says, okay, we've done enough here. Let's get out of this. And there's my 1 chord, which then says, we're going on. So when you analyze these things, sometimes you can just analyze them in the key they're in because the chords that you resolve to all fit the key, and that's fine. Sometimes it doesn't, and you just go, this is 5 of this, and 5 of this, and 5 of this, and 5 of this. This one fits, right? It has this great thing, and the sound of it is very cool. And I'm going to just sideline from this for a minute for students that are learning about resolving dominant 7 chords, these 5/7 chords, right? So the thing that we learn about 5/7 chords, and this has to do with resolving tendency tones when we're learning to do free writing, is that T, or note 7 in the scale, likes to go up to Do. And we also know that 7ths of chords like to step down, okay? So these are the things that push us to the next thing. So if I'm in the key of B flat, and here's my F chord, right? That's with the dominant 7 on it. That right there, the 3rd of the chord, is T, pushing us to Do. And then this here, the 7th of the chord wants to come down, and it goes to the 3rd in the scale, Mi. So you get this, right? And that's why 5/7 chords lead us to there. That's what you're hearing, okay? Now, before we move on, I just want to show you that the reason why this sounds so good is because here we have my 7th, which resolves down, and here we have my 3rd, which resolves up, right? Even though this isn't a dominant form, this passing note is like a 7th, and it's resolving down. And this, well, okay, anyhow, you get the idea. We'll go on to the next dominant chord right here, okay? So here, the third of the chord, in pretending we're in the key of F, because this is 5 of F, goes right there. That's T going up, and this is my 7th going down, right there, okay? And then when this becomes the 5 chord for, well, it is the 5 chord, then the 7th of the scale for the key that we're thinking we're in goes up, and the 7th of the chord, T, goes up, and the 7th of the chord comes down. And remember, T is 7 in the scale. The 7th of a chord is actually Fa. If we're using movable do here, it's not the same, okay? And then here, when we get to this one, this is my third of the chord, or T, for this next chord coming up, it goes there, and this is my 7th, and it goes down. So all the way through here, you get this moving of these two notes. I'll play them together, but your A flat and your D going like this to here, right? And then on my next one, I get my E natural and my B squishing into there. And then this comes down and becomes the 7th, and it goes out like that. And then this is gonna come down and become like that, right? That's the thing that drives and pushes this through. So if you're doing a sequence where you're just resolving a plain 5/7 chord, unless there's a good reason to, and there are some exceptions, the third of the chord, which is the 7th degree of the scale that you're in, T, likes to go up, push up, and the 7th of the chord, right, which happens to be Fa, or scale degree 4, likes to push down, right? And you get this really fantastic. Now I'm gonna put that just down into here so you can hear that there. Maybe I'll be able to grab it. It's pretty big reach. Here we go. So, right, so there's my 7th right there, and going into there, right? And then here's my E flat chord. And here's my C chord now. And then are going into here, right? And then we retake right to there, right? Right, and you know, it's like second one right there, you'll hear the A flat kick in and change the key again, right? Right. Oh, there, sorry. And then here, right? And then we get out of it finally. Right, into the C chord. So it's this really cool circle of fifths sequence right there. If you were looking for an example of circle of fifths, B flat goes down to E flat, right? Then it resets, and it's a little sequence. There's a 5-1, there's a 5-1, there's a 5-1, and there's a 5-1. It's not quite circle of fifths because we have to reset after each one, but it is down by a fifth and then resets a sequence. This idea happens again and again and again, like that. It's pretty cool. All right. We'll continue on. So we have to say, when did we change chords? I don't feel like this says we're in the key of C. We've got so many, I mean, this is from the, key of F. This does cancel out the E flat, but then we get it back again, and then we're in the key of E flat and stuff. But once we get to here, it can be all analyzed in the key of F, right? Because this is my 5 chord. And if you want a pivot chord, you could say, well, B flat is 1 in this key and 4 in the other key, right? And now we're in the key of F right now. Okay, and then this goes 4/6, passing tone, and if this had gone up as well, we would have had another 7 in this key. It didn't though. And then we have our F chord, which is a 1, right? And then this is my 2/6/5 going 5/1. I'm going to point out one other thing that's interesting for students that are in first year learning chord progression. We have learned that in chord progression, I'm just going to slide this thing out here for a minute, that we have these predominants, right? And these are predominants, and they like to go to the dominants, which are 5, 5, 7, and 7 as a substitute. And then 5 likes to go to 1. And sometimes it can go to 6 as a substitute, and that's called deceptive, because it made you think it was going to go to 1, but then it didn't, okay? All right, but if you've read the rule closer, it says anytime that a leading tone chord like this, the dominance, goes, is in play and thinks you're going to 1, but then goes to something else instead, it's called deceptive, and then it says usually 6. Well, and we've been told it doesn't go in that direction, right? And yet we have a 5 chord going to a 4 chord, and we have a 5 chord going to a 4 chord, because these are pretty much transpositions of each other. I want to point out that the 4 chord is inverted, right? And so I'm going to spell out these chords side by side. If I was going to a 6 chord here, right, I'm in the key of B flat right there, then that would be a G and a B flat and a D, yes? That would be my 6 chord, and that's what we would go to normally, according to this. Let's spell out the 4 chord. Well, that's a B flat, sorry, I lied, E flat, G, B flat. And if we put it in first inversion, then it's G, B flat, and E flat. They're the same, and the bass note is the same. It's just a little bit of different flavor on top. It's like, did you want sprinkles or did you want, I don't know, not sprinkles, sugar, right? They're almost the same thing. So I'm going to play you a 5 chord right here, right? Going to a 6 chord, right? Right? Or a 5 chord going to a 4 chord in first inversion. It's just slightly different flavors, but the bass movement, which is really important, is the same. Okay? Yeah, so that's what's happening here, and that's what's happening here. You can add this deceptive or 4/6. Later we'll talk about what happens when you invert chords and why that works that way. Basically, you weaken their function or their resolve to be a certain thing. All right, we're just going to finish this off now. So 1, and so this is my B flat chord. Again, we have that big open spacing stabilized to begin with and then gets out of the way and lets them do their thing. But this is a 5/6. This is an E flat chord, E flat, G, B flat, right? So that's my 4, and it's in first inversion again. See, we're allowed to do that. Also, this was an inversion, so it's not as big a deal, I think, too. And then here we have our cross voicing, but it's still a B flat chord. If you want to call it a B flat in root position because you're hearing this strong bass line, fine. If you're following absolute pitches, then you could call it a 6/4. It's a little weird, right? And then we have a F chord, which is going to be 1. And then we have a B flat chord, which is my 5 in first inversion. It comes down. Oh, wait, I've got these backwards in my head. My apologies. B flat is 1. Still thinking in the key of F, right? F is 5. B flat is 1/6, which then goes down to my 5, like that. Yeah? Okay. There we go. It's a pretty amazing chorale. It has so many features in it that are either reaffirming of typical idioms and things like that, or showing us great reasons for why Bach deviates from the rule. Again, I can't stress enough that the cadence structures alone, where you go IAC, we've got more to do, but then PAC, where the third of this chord is delayed and the third of this chord is omitted. And then it happens again down here where the third of the chord is delayed and the third of the chord is omitted. And then here at the final one, although the third of the chord is delayed because flavor staying the same, then it delivers a complete chord here with the third. Yeah. And to have this level of organized sequential chromaticism like this with this 5/1, 5/1, 5/1, 5/1 is, I wouldn't say it's completely atypical, but it's a little more rare in these kind of chorales and things like that. So, yeah, cool.